Whenever you're in a conflict, whenever you're in a situation, one thing that's always good is to, of course, look at it from the other person's perspective. And sometimes we have the illusion of doing that, of sort of having automatically done that, or of having automatically the knowledge of what the other person is experiencing, or we had the feeling that our judgments and our behaviors are based on having to take that into account because we know that is important to us, and so we assume that we have done that. So what I want to do now is, with this whole situation that I'm having, which you probably have no context for, but this whole situation with a woman named Jasmine now, let's tell the story from her perspective. And hold on, I gotta get water. Or actually, it's not really the story. It's how she felt, how she experienced it. I shouldn't say this is my guess about what she would say or what she's thinking. It's an exercise, it's an example of what someone in her position could say or could be thinking. And I'm using my experiences with people in this situation to inform some of that. I've only had one one-on-one conversation with her, besides via message, and then less than a handful maybe. And also specifically about what I was to her, given the situation that we're in now and what I'm being accused of. I won't agree with all of it, of course. I think a lot of it's natural and understandable. Okay, so here we go. So I am Jasmine. Hi. My name's Jasmine. I've been at Wilson for a while now. And so there's this guy, Eris, who starts at the collective. A new person, super involved. Seemed to have a lot of good energy. I've had a little bit maybe of an aggressive feeling about him. I remember one time I was opening can opener, and he just comes up from behind me, and it was like this manual can opener, one of those really simple things, and he says to me, and he comes up behind me and he goes, "Oh, let me do it," as though he knew how to do it and that I was messing it up. And then he didn't even know how to do it. And so I said to him, well, so I guess you're not the pro after all or something. And he looked confused, but I don't know, it's a feeling that you get off him that he wants to be very involved, show that he knows how to do things, etc. And then this whole thing with Salim happened. And as soon as it happened, he was getting himself involved from the beginning. He was even trying to be a part of the conversation. He hadn't been involved in any of what had happened beforehand, but was like immediately critiquing us. And what you have to understand is that I am someone who has greatly been really involved in this collective. And because of that, there's a certain responsibility that I share with other people who have been as involved for as long, towards, the new people and the people who are less involved. And when you receive an accusation that one of your volunteers has done this horrible thing to another volunteer, this quiet, sweet who had just come a few times, you need to act. And this was a whole bunch of people were involved in this. We were calling each other, we were panicked, we knew we had to protect the other volunteers from this guy, Salim. And we made a plan, and it was a good plan to ask him to leave. given this accusation. And then, of course, we would look into it. We've been trying to contact the victim. We hadn't gotten a hold of the victim yet. And the guy who was accusing him was acting real weird, wouldn't let us talk to the victim, and then told us that everything was fine and told us not to do anything. So we would tell Salim, we're gonna look into this. Everything's a little bit weird, and also, if I'm being honest, I knew that he was guilty. He'd already made me feel uncomfortable. He'd already made a comment to me. And he's the kind of guy that would do this. And Eris was critiquing us for having protected the volunteers. And maybe we didn't do things perfectly, but we did what we could in the circumstance. We weren't prepared for it. We had to protect the volunteers. And then we talked to the victim, and she says that her boyfriend made up the whole story. Actually, at this point, Eris hadn't been critiquing much, but he already had that energy, and this was all that he needed. And so then a few months later, he starts saying that, and he's like only talking about me. And when it happened, it was supposed to happen on another day, but Salim came on a different day than usual. And so the person who was supposed to take care of it wasn't there. And so I said, okay, I'll take care of it, because I don't want him to get sort of yelled at by
the big,
the kind of the boss at Wilson, who's this
big,
could be
intimidating
white guy. I'm a woman, I'll take care of it. And also, to be honest, we had gotten this accusation. We needed to do this, and I wanted to do what needed to be done. Anyway, so then we find out we apparently it's a false accusation. A couple months later, Eris just starts, and he's only talking about me. All these other people have been involved. I wasn't even the one who was supposed to kick him out. And Eris was saying that I need to go beg that this guy comes back. I had already apologized to the guy. I had already told him, feel free to come back. You can come back. You're welcome here, whatever. And the guy didn't want to come back. And Eris was all like, it's your fault. It's saying that it's my fault that the guy didn't come back. The guy didn't want to come back. And also, to be honest, I didn't feel very comfortable with him either. So why am I going to go beg this guy to come back? I can't do it. This isn't even, yes, this is something I'm very invested in. I have other things going on in my life. I'm not going to go chase after and beg a guy who has made me uncomfortable. And beg him to come back and be in my presence. I've apologized. I've done my job. And Eris is saying that we have to, that nobody else, that it all falls on me. And that I'm like this racist monster for not inviting him back, which is completely unfair. I'm literally a part of a collective that gives to, who others might want to exclude, might want to hate. There's nothing to do with this. When we had a meeting after there was this news about it being a false accusation, he literally brought a book. With some neuroscience, psychology, Bible that he reads all the time. I've seen it, super worn. And I think he just reads it over and over and over again. And he had the perfect thing memorized for this, which was that, and he basically says that we're all racist. he brings us this passage. He's talking about this thing. He wants to read it out loud. He's sitting next to me to kind of try to dominate me. He's got his computer. And he's just always got that sort of aggressive presence. And this meeting that we were having was basically him trying to tell everybody, as he had been doing like the last month, that I'm, this like evil racist, and that I need to go chase after and beg this acquitted this accused offender. I don't get why it falls on me. I am not the representative of all of Wilson. There were so many people involved, and he was just like obsessed with me. People kept coming to me, telling me, wow, Eris was sending me a whole bunch of messages about you, saying that, you're like involved in Wilson for the wrong reasons, and that you have this, you're responsible for this thing, you have this, and I don't know, he's after you, he's like coming after you. And I was already had other stuff going on, and all of this because I wanted to protect the volunteers, and all this because some guy set us up. So we had this meeting, and Eric's just trying to blame everything on me, and blah, blah, blah. And I did feel bad because, apparently the guy was, I don't know, part of me felt bad, but also part of me, and then here's what happened. So then, like, Eris is, like, fighting us all because I've got friends, and we were there sort of defending me, and, and Eris is, like, tries to play detective, and he goes and speaks to the person to the victim, to Salim's victim. He goes and speaks to her, and he even had contacted someone that, because of this whole drama, had to take time out of Wilson. And he went back and tried to drag her back in because he just doesn't care about how anyone else sort of feels, or it's on this like hunt for us. For me specifically, it's always Jasmine. And he like plays detective, and he sends me, and he kicks me out of the WhatsApp group. And one of my friends told me that Salim had been accused of something else. That there's another victim, that Salim had another victim, another volunteer that we had failed to protect, and that Eris was hunting me for having tried to protect. And Eris found this out on a Thursday, and my friend told me as well, and he didn't tell me. Nope, he knew, and he didn't tell me. Then the next day, he kicks me out of the group, out of the WhatsApp group, and he sends me this message like, hey, I'm kicking you out of the group. Sorry, not sorry. And saying that he has something to share. But I already know. My friend had already told me the day before, so he wasn't even able to keep it from me. He's been chasing me after me for this whole Salim thing, and now Salim has a second victim, and he's trying to hide it from me. Because it didn't match his narrative and his witch hunt of me. He tells me in the messages. He does. I mean, that is what he says in the first message. But he kicks me out because he doesn't want to share the details. He wants to be as vague as possible, just so that we can say what he said. Just so nobody can say, so that he can basically hide it without anybody knowing that he hid it. So he kicks me out from the group, doesn't want to share the details. And, he says, and he alludes to another thing and a problem with Salim, but can't even be, I'm sorry, that's sexist. It's just gonna say, he can't even be strong enough to just admit that he fucked up, that he's been hunting me for nothing. I don't actually even know what he has against me. I don't know whether it's about, seeing a tall woman with, respect in a group, respected by her team, and he's this outsider who just wants to take over or something. I don't know. So then we create this group, or he wants to create this group. So he played detective. He tells me there's a second story, and then he goes and plays detective, goes and talks to the first victim, finds out that it's true, and tells me. And how creepy is that, though? That he found out. Why can't? He's so obsessed, or needs to be so involved or control everything or something. And this woman who hasn't been a part of the collective because she had this bad experience. I mean, yeah, she said that it was made up, and so she hadn't had this bad experience. And he goes and brings someone else. Anyway, he goes and involves someone else who had tried to escape from this whole thing, and also tries to pull in Salim's first victim again. And he tells us that actually the first accusation was true. He'd been putting all this pressure on me all this time, tries to withhold the second story, and then also it turns out that the first accusation was true. And I fucking knew it. And I had been having all this anxiety and feeling all this pain, all because what? I tried to protect volunteers. Eric tried to interfere, brought Salim back to us just to rub it in my face. When we thought that, when we were told that when he thought that it was a false accusation. And so we created this group a couple months after all this drama started. And of course, Eris wants to be a member of this group, creating this. But now that we know that it's actually all true, you bet your ass I'm going to be a part of this group. I'm going to make sure that, Eris doesn't again interfere with protecting our volunteers. And, I'm also not going to let him just spend time just talking shit about me and the mistakes that he thinks that I made when I was protecting volunteers. And also, this matters to me. I mean, that's mostly it. This matters to me. This is unacceptable, where you're supposed to come, want to contribute, help. We give out food, we go, we do our route, and we help people, and that's it. People are coming here and hurting each other, and I want to help stop that. I want to help make sure that doesn't happen. By the way, before we create this group, and after the meeting, and also after we find out that it was all true, Eris tries to distract us. And actually, even at the meeting, he said to us that, trying to say that we were racist, he was teasing us with this story about some other volunteer at Wilson. This guy who had done something, and he was like protecting this guy. We didn't want to tell us who it was, just wanted to tell us that we were racist, and that he didn't think that we would, that all of a sudden we wouldn't care, and that we would just be nice and love this guy. When in fact, we were not racist with Salim. In fact, even when we thought that it was a false accusation, when they thought it was, when we first kicked out Salim, we were scared of, we didn't go to the police, we were scared of what that might do to his refugee status, etc. So if anything, we were nicer to him. We were very concerned about him because he was an outsider, or which just makes more of Eris's whole campaign against me absurd. Makes it more absurd. So we make this group. Eris has been teasing us about this story. Finally, he tells us the story and what happened. Doesn't even have the victim's permission. And I guess it was some kind of a test to him. I see that now. He didn't really care about the victim who was supposed to be his friend. He didn't really care about him. He wanted to, again, it was basically a test. And he set us up a little bit to fail. I take responsibility. We should have acted on the accusation of Fred. But I don't want to excuse that we didn't act. I was so distracted by all this unjustified campaigning that Eris had done against me. And now the meetings were really difficult for me. It was me and Eris and like 3 other people. And he would like try to put me down in the meetings and stuff. And I was trying to work, and he was always disagreeing with us. It was always sort of, and he even tricked me at one point. He trapped me. It was always trying to trick us and trap us. At one point, he tells us, hey, we shouldn't call sexual offenders, we should just call them the accused. People who, when we're, designing these procedures about what to do when someone has committed, a sort of sexual assault, he wants to protect them, of course. And he says we should call them the accused. And I wanted to try to work together with him. And I'm also thinking, hey, what's going on with this? We gotta deal with this Fred thing, Because Eris has revealed who it was, and now all of a sudden, Eris is quiet, right? Eris told us who it was before. He's campaigning against me, talking to everybody, sending everyone to talk to me. Then when he told us who Fred was, this second story, this second offender, this white person, now all of a sudden all that energy was gone, because it was a trap. And so he traps me in this meeting a couple of weeks after I've learned who it, he's finally told us who it was. Because again, he doesn't actually care about anything happening. I humor him. He says, we should call them the accused. So I ask about Fred because we need to do something about this. And I refer to Fred as the accused. And there Eris goes again, accusing me of racism. It was a setup. He goes, it was a setup. He says, oh, you're saying, you're using the term that I just suggested that we use. You're now using that term. You're racist because now you're using that. You literally just suggested that. Why are you... And that's always what the meetings were like. He was always trying to... And by the way, I didn't explain to Eris why I didn't want to chase after Salim. Back when he thought the accusation was false. I didn't tell him that it was because Salim made me uncomfortable. One, because he would have just called me racist. And two, because that's my business. That's my experience. I don't owe him my reliving that. And I knew that Eris sort of, I don't know whether this was a part of the plan or what, but he apologized for me not, for having not made me feel comfortable to tell him that, how I felt about Salim personally. And he also sort of apologized about all the pressure he had put on me, but I think it was just like get my guard down, just so he could trap me with the whole Fred thing. And then he sends me all these text messages about how I'm not being fair to him in the meetings. And he's like some kind of a victim in this whole thing. He's been coming after me for a month. He's being an asshole in the meetings. And he's sends me these dramatic, all these long messages talking about how, about his, about how I am being so mean to him or something like that. And also bringing up Salim again, just to, because that's what he loves to do. And then another trap, because yes, I did say this. In a meeting, I think it might have been that same meeting, I don't know. I say, and what I was trying to do is sort of, we were working on figuring out what to do about Fred, and we had other situations, and it was difficult to work with Eris. And so we hadn't made any progress on the Fred thing. We hadn't, and he was getting more involved, and I was a little bit concerned about that in the collective, And honestly, if Eris hadn't been in the group, he hadn't. Anyway, so yeah, in a meeting at one point, we hadn't made progress yet on Fred. Progress was slow with Eris on the team. And even the mission statement, he just kept disagreeing. And so I was, and I was thinking, okay, well, Fred is going to be leaving for a little bit, and I wanted to make the team feel a bit better, and also I wanted to try to, because Eris was the one who was supposed to check in with the victim and find out, what the victim wanted. That's what I'm asking him. And Eris doesn't know, and he has no news about this, and this is kind of how he slowed us down. And so I was trying to kind of take the pressure off of him. I was trying to be nice. And so it's like, hey, and I shouldn't have said it, but I said, Fred's going to be leaving for a little bit. And then, and then everything, I was just able to breathe for once. Fred was leaving, and I was just able to breathe for once. And then when Fred came back, I was just distracted by other things I had going on. So Fred's back for a couple of months. I've got other stuff going on. Everybody else has got other stuff going on. I'm not the only member of the group. Eris has completely left. He doesn't give a shit. He's left Wilson. And I feel bad, and I fucked up. I'm sorry that I breathed. I really am. I should have been more vigilant because of that responsibility. And Eris comes out of nowhere, and he loves it. Hey, you guys, of course. It's always you guys, right? Guys, and even though he was a part of the group that was supposed to handle this. Hey, you guys didn't do anything. So now I found some other people, because I got some other people involved. I found some other people going to do something, and haha, I showed you guys you're all racist. And he's on me again. And it stirs up all this anxiety I had felt with the Salim situation. And he's fucking loving it. Acting like I don't feel bad that we didn't do something about Fred. Saying it's because we're so racist and all this, and he warned us and all this. Which is not actually how it happened. It's not like we went, oh, hey, Fred's white, Fred's a friend. Well, let's not do anything about it. But that's what he wants people to think. And then, as he's just sort of, he starts quoting me, saying all these things, and it's kind of out of context, saying all these things that I had said, making me look like this horrible person. Again, I'm the only bad guy, even though I was one of 5 people, including him, on this team. And he just hasn't stopped. And I thought when he had left that I was free. And I was thinking about the Fred thing, and I was going to do something about it. Just had a lot going on, but I have good friends, and my friends saw how much pain this was causing me, the guilt about not doing something about Fred, all the drama, the pain of everything that Eris had said, all the attention, all the hate that he brought on me. And even when I was breathing, I was fucking up. And I feel so guilty about that. He's making it seem like I enjoy this. And he's quoting me now, and everybody knows that I was the one who said those things. And it's all on me again. And my friends saw how much this was hurting me. Eris didn't give a shit. And they shut him down for, they told him. They didn't even want to punish him immediately. It was just like, they told him not to talk to me or not to talk about me. Stop sending people after me. Without spreading all this hate about me. Or they would tell people what he's doing. And I thought that it would stop there. And I was relieved that they were helping me, but I didn't want it to get to this point, because I don't even know what Eris has against me. And it didn't stop. Eris starts talking about he's going to tell everybody all this stuff, he's going to say all this stuff about me. And he's texting people about me. And then Justa, as he loves, in this group chat, I tell everybody to sign up. And he goes, yes, exclamation point. He's not even coming anymore. He's not going to sign up. And I guess he's like trying to say, yeah, sign up, Jasmine, because sometimes I wouldn't sign up, because I would go every single Tuesday. And he would always need me to sign up, even though I would do the same route every Tuesday. And he would always, just because he likes to, and so he goes, yes. And it just stirred up everything. Again, I thought I could breathe. And it just stirred everything up for me. And it's like, this guy won't leave me alone. He won't let me go. And, but, luckily my friends, they kicked him out of the group. Why won't he leave? He's supposed to have left by now. And he won't leave me alone. All right, so we have to go. That's the story told from Jasmine's perspective. Pretty compelling story. And wow. I really get it. There's a lot that I disagree with, but gosh, are you even gonna listen to me if I do a whole commentary on that? That was already long enough. Hopefully, just the fact that I can see that maybe, because that was really good, right? I mean, I think we can agree. I did that on the spot, right? I think we can agree that that's a very fair case. If you hear that story, you're like, fuck this guy Eris, right? Like, what is his deal? Yeah, absolutely. So we have to go, but yeah, pretty sweet, huh? It's an important ability to have. And, you know, saying all of it out loud, and by listening to that, it helps me have a better understanding, you know? And actually, yeah, I can't feel any anger right now. That's all very understandable. It's inaccurate and stuff. And it lacks certain things. But it shows there's two sides to every story. Thank you. I have a friend actually who inspired me to do this. She was so impressed one time because of a message that I sent her where we had gotten a little thing via message, and I had sent her a message that really kind of was really fair and sorted it. And ever since, she's like, wow, what a mature conflict resolution guy or whatever. So yeah, that's a very compelling story, and absolutely, you hear that story and you're like, of course, when people hear my story, they go, oh yeah, oh man. I mean, nobody hates Jasmine when I tell my story, and you shouldn't hate her. If you were a normal person that would hate me hearing that story, then yes, maybe you should, but you shouldn't. Anyway, maybe I'll tell my version, but there you go, gotta go. Oh, Jasmine back. I didn't even mention that, and so as soon as Eris comes back to us, you know, in late May, he's gloating, hey, you guys didn't do anything about Fred, and, you know, we're going to do something, you know, and he asks us now, you know, what should we do? Hoping probably that we would say, oh, you know, we shouldn't act, we should meet it, we should blah, blah, blah. But no, I wasn't going to fall for it. We need to do it urgently, and he even tries to trap us. He tries to trip us up. He goes, oh, but it's his birthday, so you guys don't want to wait until tomorrow? And tries to rub it in our face. So this is part of all that long series of messages they said in this group. This was over the course of 2 weekends. But anyway, so I said, let's get him out immediately. Of course, we need to protect the volunteers. And then he uses that against me. The next weekend, he's all like, oh, it's because there's no winning with Eris. We took too long. It's a problem. I reacted. It's a problem. It's my fault, of course, even though he was the one who brought this to us, saying, you know, that he had gotten other people involved and that they were going to act. The only thing that matters to Eris is making me feel like shit. And that's why when he says yes to me, that was just way too much. He's just taking it too far. And I don't even know what he's going to make up about me, what he's going to take out of context. Sorry, Jasmine here one more time. And the last thing I wanted is for this to become like a big deal, or even more of a big deal, and have a bunch of attention. And, you know, which is why I didn't want my friends to suggest to talk about writing that thing against him. But I don't know what choice we had to write, you know, a public letter. And he knew that I didn't want the attention and stuff, which is why he started threatening that now he's going to write the letter and all this stuff. He's going to publish our screenshots and all of this stuff. But my friends had good intentions, but okay. All right, gotta go. Yo, what if people think that was meant to be a mockery of her? Or another thing I was thinking is, what if people think that people are going to go, here, I'll be Jasmine again. You see, I fucking knew it. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he's just one of those people. He just gets off being an asshole. And I am sorry to Jasmine that that's what she experienced. Question is, what do the facts show? Oh, by the way, this is a disclaimer. I have no idea what she's thinking. I don't actually know. I don't actually know how she experienced any of that. This is me, Eris, talking. All of that is a big guess based on little bits that I've heard and a lot that I'm just imagining. Well, no, I mean, yeah, I just filled in the. Yeah, I'm patting myself on the back a little bit. Yes, I do want you, and I want you to pat me on the back. But so don't think that. But anyway, this is not. I'm not like reading something that she has sent me or anything like that. So if I am completely wrong, excuse me. Again, as Jasmine, Eris even admitted to me. He sent me the super long voice memo when he was trying to get in my head, whatever. And he even admitted to me that he had like manipulated his ex-girlfriend. And I asked his ex-girlfriend about that, but I guess he had covered his tracks and